Day 9 begins with a blonde girl saying goodbye to her people in a distant land. On the other hand, in Tokyo, a young man named Ichiro is overworked. He has to finish some sketches and he pretends to his little siblings Machi and Fumio that everything is fine. But in reality, since their father, making money as a manga artist has not been easy. Everything would be easier if he had an assistant. Fortunately, that day, Ichiro receives a call from Morakuni saying that he has found him a trusted assistant, but he must go look for her because she doesn't know the area. Then, Ichiro runs in search of her and is surprised to see that his assistant is a blonde, calm girl who dresses in black. She is Shiori Goshiki. Ichiro tells her that he has a job due tomorrow morning, so they should go to work right away, and she accepts. Much to Ichiro's good fortune, his new assistant is very skilled and fast even though this is her first job, and she tells him that he learned everything from a book for mangakas. Hours later, Machi and Fumio return home and she scolds her brother for having worked nonstop all day, so Machi shows Shiori around. They live in an inn that houses social apartments in which different types of people live, office workers, manicurists, and their cousin, and Ichiro is the landlord. In addition, they all share a living room and a dining room, and Shiori, as his assistant, will have her own room to rest, so she decides to have dinner alone in her room, and after that, she goes back to work. Hours later, Shiori goes to make tea and runs into Machi and Fumio again. The girl tells her that her brother doesn't know when to stop working and is always saying that he is raising money to send them to college and never asks for help. After that, Shiori continues working with Ichiro and tells him that she is 19 years old and the only manga she ever read was his and she liked it a lot. Then they continue working for hours in silence, and even though he tells her that she can go rest, she refuses and continues working. They are about to finish, but Ichiro realizes that a panel fell under his desk and he won't be able to finish in time, so he won't get paid this month. Then Shiori tells him that if he needs her help, he should just ask since she doesn't know how to read his feelings, and for the first time, Ichiro accepts that he needs help and asks her for it. Many hours later, they finally finish and fall asleep on the floor. When Ichiro wakes up, he sees something shiny and sharp sticking out of Shiori's lower back and thinks it's a pen stuck in her clothes, so he tries to get it out but gets pricked by what appears to be a stinger. Suddenly, he feels like he is floating in outer space until Shiori takes his hand and brings him back to reality. She scolds him for touching her stinger and tells him that now they are engaged because only married couples are allowed to touch that part of another's. That confuses Ichiro, who is still a little asleep, and he says that he thought something sharp was stuck in her clothes and tried to remove it, which relieves Shiori since it was an accident. Then she confesses that she is the princess of star people and she wants to marry for love, which shocks Ichiro because he doesn't understand what she's talking about. He says that he is in charge of his siblings and he can't have strange rumors around him. But she confesses that she is a fan of his work, so much so that she used to copy his drawing style, so she prefers to start as friends, which leaves him perplexed. To explain herself better, Shiori tells him that according to the customs of her island, they are engaged now, and that does not bother her because she wanted to experience love for herself. Although Ichiro tells her that she is conditioning herself to love and should choose herself. At that moment, Ichiro's publicist, Morakuni, arrives and he comes down to give him the work that cost them so much to finish. And as the Morakuni is satisfied, he tells him that his next work can be colored, something that makes Ichiro very happy. Later, Shiori wakes up after a long nap and feels a little sad because her bond with the people on her island is weakening due to distance. Then she gets dressed and gathers her things. Before leaving the house, she meets Chihiro, Ichiro's cousin. Hours later, Shiori sends Ichiro a text telling him where he can deposit her payment, but Fumio answers that his brother has a fever. So Shiori quickly returns to Ichiro's apartments. She tells him that he is like this because of her. She put distance between them, thinking that since he accidentally touched her stinger, nothing would happen. But the great star seems to have taken their engagement as valid, so they must be physically together or he will get sick. Then she notices that he has been making colored sketches and is happy for him, but he is still weak, so they join hands to speed up his healing, and incredibly it works, making Ichiro think that everything she told him is true. He feels so much peace holding her hand that he falls asleep. When he wakes up, she tells him that she would like to rent a room since she doesn't have a home and lives in a temporary apartment. Also, to develop a relationship, they must be friends first. The next day, Shiori moves in with them, and while Ichiro weeds the garden, he asks her if they can annul the bond, and she says that her staff on the island is looking for the answer. After weeding, she asks him to go shopping with her, and after trying on several black dresses, she asks for his opinion, but he is honest and says he doesn't notice the difference. Then she tries on and sweaters, and he tells her that she should buy what she likes. After that, they go through the manga store, and she excitedly buys many. Finally, they go to a cafe, and before eating, she says a prayer to connect with her people, but she cannot do it because of the distance. Then he tells her that he found out a little about her island Yobajima and read about the legend that says that a shooting star fell on that island and cried over several children who were able to feel the feelings of the star. Shiori says that the legend is true, but it has been changed. The star was actually a meteorite, and its tears were a microorganism that introduced itself in the body of her grandmother. She was the first star girl 2 generations ago. Her grandmother recently So now her mother runs the island and soon Shiori will do it. But she wanted to fall in love first, and since her grandmother supported her until the last moment, her mother let her leave the island. It is not easy for Ichiro to accept all this, and he tells her that the best thing would be to find her another fiancé, and that causes something in her that makes him sneeze, so he goes to the bathroom. When he returns, he sees that Shiori is with two guys who are flirting with her without her noticing, so he takes her arm to lead her away, and that causes his nose to start. Frightened, Shiori makes him let go of her hand, and alone, she tells him that since she didn't want him to touch her, their connection hurt him. That makes her feel compliant, and she wishes she had never left the island, but he consoles her and tells her that he will learn the rules of how to be with her and then solve all this. When they return home, Machi and Chihiro are suspicious of their outing and thinks that they must be very close to go shopping together, and Shiori happily says that Ichiro wanted to get to know her better, which shocks Machi because that means that her brother was on a date. The next day, Shiori and Ichiro decide to test how far they can be from each other. So she takes a train to the next station, and that's the furthest they can be apart. They also discover that if she feels uncomfortable, he will feel it too. Afterwards, she wants them to test how to avoid shocks, since last time he pulled her arm and she accidentally made his nose. He agrees, and she tells him that she was reading a lot of manga last night, so she has several ideas. First, she asks Ichiro to cover her eyes from behind, and he does it. She is not surprised because it was prearranged. Even so, she asks him to tell her the lines of the protagonist of the manga she was reading. He pleases her even though he feels nervous. Afterwards, she asks him to corner her against the wall, and he once again obliges her. But they are seen by Machi and Fumio. The girl tells them that they cannot do it in a house with children, but Shiori explains that he was just following her whims and nothing is happening. Before leaving, Machi tells her brother that Morikumi called to say that he wants to talk to him later. Then, Ichiro tells Shiori that she could write down everything she wants to do and achieve. Later, Morikumi calls Ichiro and asks him to reconsider the development of his manga, since nowadays readers are more interested in sentimental arcs than in fights. This stresses Ichiro out, so he starts doing chores around the house instead of working, which alerts Machi since she knows her brother very well. On the other hand, Shiori has finished writing the list of what she wants to achieve, and the first thing is to introduce herself to her neighbors, so she buys several personal items to give them when she meets them. So first she goes to Ichiro and asks him to choose his welcome gift, and he chooses a towel. Unfortunately, there is no one else at the inn, so she must wait, but Ichiro suggests she write a short letter of introduction and leave the gifts in the mailboxes. Later, Shiori writes several letters for her neighbors and waits for them at the door. The first to arrive is Chihiro. She accepts her letter and chooses the cleaners and tells Shiori what their other neighbors are like so Shiori can give them her welcome gifts and letters according to personalities. That seems fine to Shiori, and she asks to be friends with her, which surprises Chihiro. At night, Ichiro tries to think about how to replot the next arc of his manga, but nothing comes to mind. The next day, Ichiro shows Shiori that all of their neighbors left messages of gratitude on the whiteboard, and that makes her happy. At that moment, a woman arrives with a freshly baked apple pie. She is Momoka, Ichiro's childhood friend and Morikumi's wife. It turns out that she is the one who taught Ichiro everything about the manga, and not only that, she is the author of the manga that Shiori was reading last night, so she asks for her autograph. Shiori is so happy to meet Momoka that she offers to be her assistant, but Momoka now works digitally and Shiori doesn't even know how to use a tablet, so Momoka offers to give her an old one that she no longer uses. Afterwards, Momoka says goodbye to them and confesses that Machi called her because her brother was sad, and she knew that Momoka would lift his spirits, and Machi was right after all. Momoka is the one who knows Ichiro best. Later, while Ichiro tries to think of new plots for his manga, he feels a strange feeling in his heart and knows that it is Shiori, so he goes to her room and finds her sad. They go out and she says she feels sadness in her heart every time she thinks about his and Momoka's friendship, and Ichiro quickly clarifies that there is nothing suspicious between them because they are friends and she is married. Shiori knows that, but the weird feeling in her heart doesn't go away until she realizes that maybe she feels a hint of jealousy towards Momoka, and that means she loves Ichiro. The revelation shocks them both, and he doesn't believe that is possible, but she interrupts him saying that he let her savor this moment of knowing what love is. The next day, Machi asks Ichiro to go to the zoo, and he accepts because it is something he had promised them, but neither of them realize that it was raining and the outing is cancelled. Then Ichiro forces himself to sit down and think about how to follow an arc focused on the feelings of the protagonist couple, but he can't stop thinking about Shiro's confession from last night. He thinks that she is attached to him like little birds are attached to the first thing they see. On the other hand, Shiori keeps drawing Ichiro's face without realizing it and blushes every time she thinks about her confession last night. Later, they run into each other in the hallway, and she notices that Machi and Fumio look bored, and Ichiro explains to her that they couldn't go to the zoo today, and she offers to play with them, both internally pretending that what happened last night didn't happen. So while Ichiro begins to sketch the new plot of his manga, Shiori chats with Machi, and seeing that the girl has fortune-telling cards, she asks her to be her future. Later, Ichiro finds Shiori and his siblings with sad faces because one of Machi's cards were torn because they were so old since he drew them for her when she was in kindergarten. So Ichiro offers to draw her a new one. But Machi wants him to draw her a new deck, and Shiori offers to go to the bookstore to buy a book about her favorite fortune teller so that Ichiro can draw the new deck according to the right theory. Even though it is raining, Shiori goes to bookstore, and after a while, Ichiro gets worried because the distance is long, so he goes in search of her, and when he runs into her, he is happy to see her safe and sound. After that, the two begin to draw a new deck of cards for Machi, who looks at them ecstatically. And when they finish, Shiori sets up a divination stand for Machi. And not only that, she lends her dark clothes, and Machi looks like a real fortune teller. Although she says that when she grows up as an adult, she will go to college and won't be a fortune teller. That shocks Ichiro, and he tells her that she can be whatever she wants because he will always support her. And that makes Shiori a little sad because her mother never supported her. At night, Ichiro works hard on the sentimental arc of his manga, having finally found his motivation. After that, he goes down to the dining room and turns on the planetarium that Machi was using as a fortune teller's ball, and when the dining room lights up, Shiori goes down too, and he decides to talk to her. He tells her that he is grateful for her feelings and he doesn't know if it is good to accept them because he has to focus on raising his siblings and his job is not stable. He is not a good match at all. She tries to stop him from continuing talking because she notices that his body is turning purple because he is rejecting her, but he ignores her and continues listing his flaws, and in the end he tells her that he realized that he also fell in love with her and asks her to go out with him. Shiori's heart beats so hard that she thinks she's going to with love. The next day, the trip to the zoo is underway again, and Machi invites Shiori, who quickly accepts, which means that this will be their first date. Ichiro internally debates whether to tell his siblings that he is dating Shiori, but he doesn't know how to explain everything surrounding Shiori to them. Later, they go to the zoo, and Machi and Ichiro plan their schedule so as not to miss anything. So they have a good time watching the animals and petting the guinea pig. Shiori is totally enjoying her first date, but she would like to hold his hand like the other couples, although she understands that Ichiro should hold his siblings' hands. Even so, they both can't help but blush every time they see each other, which alerts Machi, so Ichiro quickly confesses that they started dating last night. To his surprise, Machi takes it very well. Even so, Shiori emphasizes that for her brother, they are the most important thing in life, and kneels asking for permission to go out with him. This time, the quiet Fumio surprises them all by taking Shiori's hand and assuring her that they are happy that she is dating Ichiro. Then Ichiro promises the three that he will treasure them, and that makes them very happy. After that, they go to see the baby giraffes, and while the children watch the animals, Ichiro and Shiori hold hands for the first time, which makes them blush bright red. Seeing Shiori tearing up with happiness, the children hug her. Meanwhile, on a distant island, Shiori's parents are worried because they haven't heard from her. Her father thinks everything is fine, but her mother thinks her daughter is just wandering around looking for something to do. Back to Japan, the children go to sleep while Ichiro washes the dishes and falls asleep at the table. Then Shiori goes down to ask him what he likes most about her, but when she sees him asleep, she wants to caress his neck, but stops herself because the last time she scolds him when he touches her stinger. So she wakes him up and asks for permission to caress his neck, and he gives her permission and tells her that next time she can caress him without asking, which makes her happy, and she starts to gently caress the back of his neck, making him blush. Days later, Morikuni tells Ichiro that his plot for the sentimental arc for the manga is perfect, so he gives him the okay to start working on the new volume. At home, he asks Shiru to help him with his new job, and she accepts and tells him that she has had failed attempts looking for work, since a mangaka had the requirement to be a digital artist, and another mangaka who works hybrid liked her way of drawing, but she feels that she ruined the job interview because she told him that she was a princess first, and then she invented that she dressed up as a princess as a hobby, and throughout the whole drawing session, the atmosphere was uncomfortable. Ichiro tells her that she will surely get a job soon and says that today they could do something to cheer her up. This is heard by Machi, who suggests they go to eat barbecue. That idea seems great to Shiori because eating celebratory meat is part of her wish list. Then the four of them leave for a barbecue that specializes in meats and curries. Upon arrival, Shiori doesn't stop taking photos and delighting in everything. And since she has never eaten a barbecue, Machi teaches her how to grill her meat. After filling up on food, Shiori thanks Ichiro for encouraging her and tells him that her little experience in life is not only due to living on an island as a princess, but because she gave up very soon. Then he advises her to do whatever she wants, although he likes her the way she is, but if she wants to change, he agrees, which makes her laugh since he gets dizzy with his ideas and says that she likes to make him dizzy. When they get home, Ichiro goes to work in his room and Shiori is left wondering if she said something bad during dinner. But it's quite the opposite. Ichiro knows that he is not good at expressing what he wants to say, so he decides to draw her a manga to tell her everything he feels for her. The next day, it's barely dawn, and Ichiro knocks on Shiori's door because he wants to give him her 80-page letter and is surprised that she didn't sleep practicing her way of drawing. Then she takes the letter from him since he was retracting from giving it to her, and as she reads her manga, she starts to tear up since she felt all these feelings of gratitude, admiration, and love for her. He wants to wipe her tears and doesn't know if he should touch her, so she takes his hand and puts it on her cheek, saying that she will treasure this love letter. Later, Ichiro receives a call from Sano, a fellow mangaka. He tells him that he has recently been working with a girl named Shiori, and he got the impression that she's in love with him and wanted to tell him. That makes Ichiro smile and tells him that it's true, they are dating. Sano laughs for being right and tells him that he is going to hire Shiori, which will make Ichiro happy for his girl. Days later, Ichiro, his siblings, and Chihiro go to visit their father's grave, and the children invite Shiori too. When they arrive at his grave, they leave him his favorite snacks, and the children tell him about how they have grown and advanced this year. After that, they go to the nearby park to have a picnic since it is tradition for them to eat the food that their father used to enjoy. Then the children tell Shiori all the good things about their father, and they can't help but tear up a little, so she gives them tissues. After the tears come laughter and surprises as Machi tells Chihiro that Ichiro and Shiori are dating, which surprises her, and she remembers to herself that he is like an older brother to her. When the picnic ends, Ichiro realizes that they didn't leave a mochi for his father and runs to the grave again, and Shiori accompanies him. When they get to the grave, she says that she noticed before that no one told their father about him, so she tells Mr. Kuba how this son's life is going. And Ichiro tells his father that he is dating Shiori and hopes that their relationship lasts a long time. After that, they go back home because it's getting cold and Shiori is sneezing. That night, Shiori can't stop remembering how Ichiro introduced her to his dad, and that leads her to think that it was like asking for his blessing to be able to get married, which makes her blush and she goes down to drink water. In the kitchen, she runs into Ichiro, who also turns red because he also thinks that their relationship has moved on now that he introduced her to his father. Although he notices that she is red for something else, and when he takes her temperature, he gets worried when he sees that she has a fever and asks her to go to bed while he prepares soup for her. While he cooks, he wonders if there are more differences in Shiori than her sting, and he wishes he had asked her. Later, he brings her soup and she asks him to stay with her, and he sits next to her bed. She wants to talk to him, but he says that she should rest, and it doesn't matter if they are silent, he will remain by her side. That relieves Shiori, and takes his hand and falls asleep. The next day, she wakes up first and discovers that Ichiro spent the night asleep sitting next to her bed and wakes him up quickly. He is relieved that she feels better, and before leaving, she hugs him from behind. So he turns around and hugs her too, and when he opens the door, Machi and Funio rush in since they slept about Shiori, and she assures them that she feels better. Then Machi asks her brother what he is doing so early in Shiori's room, and he says that he also got up worried to see how Shiori was feeling, which Machi finds funny. Weeks later, Christmas is approaching, and Ichiro wonders if he should go on a date with Shiori, although she doesn't even know what Christmas is because they don't celebrate on the island. Then Machi intervenes and says that they have a Christmas Eve dinner every year, and Shiori is delighted to spend her first Christmas with them. A week later, Ichiro is the one who cooks the Christmas Eve banquet, earning compliments from Shiori, Sano, and Momoka. Shiori is happy because now more people know that she and Ichiro are dating, so she asks Momoka anecdotes about her boyfriend, and she tells her that since he was a child, he was a very worrying person. That delights her, and she asks Shiro too, and the teenager says that he took care of her when she moved to the city without her parents. That makes Shiori fall more in love with him. Finally, the children say that their brother is the best and loves them very much, making Ichiro blush. Then they ask Shiori about her island, and she only says that it is a place where you can see a lot of stars. Hours later, it's time to sleep, but Machi wants a girls' sleepover, so Chihiro invites them to her room because she wants to get to know Shiori better. They put on their pajamas, and the first thing Chihiro does is recommend her favorite manga to Shiori. And when Machi wants to open a drawer, Chihiro tells her that it is her secret drawer. That makes Shiori a little uncomfortable because she keeps a lot of secrets, and she wants to be honest with her new friends, so she tells the girls that she's a princess on her island. Then Machi gets serious and tells her that people can also have secrets in a friendship, which makes Shiori happy because she was worried. Additionally, the little girl says that she also has secrets that she hasn't told Ichiro, which surprises her brother who is listening to behind the door. The next day, Ichiro asks Shiori on a Christmas date, and she happily accepts since she reads about them in her favorite mangas. At night, Shiori can't stop admiring the Christmas decorations, and when they reach a large Christmas tree that shines with hundreds of lights, he tells her he has thought a lot about them and wants this relationship to be real, not just dating, but to be a couple who plans to get married one day. This shocks Shiori, and Ichiro continues with his confession. He not only wants to get engaged to her, but also do it according to the customs of her island and respecting the bond that was formed between him and her stinger. Shiori blushes and, almost tearing up, tells him that she accepts and wants to kiss him on the lips. He wants that too, so she kisses him. When they return home, they are both very red, which makes Chihiro and Machi suspicious. Before going to sleep, Shiori is so happy that she relives the kiss over and over again, but she thinks it was too short and wants their next kisses to be longer. Suddenly, her cell phone rings and she, shocked, sees a text from her mother. The next day, Ichiro can't stop thinking about the kiss, but Shiori tells him that she received a text from her mother asking her to come back to the island, but she doesn't want to because she might never leave the island again if she comes back. That worries Ichiro, but he decides to cheer her up with plans for the new year. The following days, the two spend buying decorations, food, and putting out the kotatsu to stay warm, something Shiori didn't know about. On New Year's Day, they go to the shrine where they say their prayers and try their luck in the lottery, and luckily, Shiori wins a family trip to the hot springs. The next day, the four of them go to the hot springs near Mount Fuji, and since Shiori has never been to a hot spring, Machi teaches her the manners when soaking in the hot springs. At night, Shiori and Ichiro meet to take a foot bath, and she shows him her digital tablet and the amazing functions it has for drawing. Although she cannot hide her concerns since she has been avoiding calls from her mother, and Ichiro tells her that he would like to know how to fix things without her having to return to the island, and that is enough for Shiori, who lies on his side and thanks him for understanding her. The next day, while they are looking at the photos they took, Shiori receives calls from her mom again, and this time she decides to answer. Her mother, Miyako, scolds her for not contacting her even once, but Shiori assures her that she is fine. So Miyako tries to convince her to return to the island since only there she can be loved. Upon hearing that, Ichiro takes the cell phone from her and introduces himself to her future mother-in-law, saying that he loves Shiori and wants to marry her. But in his outburst, he accidentally cuts her call, causing Shiori to laugh. On the other hand, Miyako calls a meeting on the island and tells them that an evil villain has deceived her daughter. He told her that he planned to marry her and cut off her call. That worries the people of the island, and they just want their beloved princess to return, so Shiori's parents decide to travel to Tokyo to bring her back. Meanwhile, Ichiro and Shiori continue enjoying the trip with the children, and on the last day, they go shopping for souvenirs. Alone, Ichiro tells her that he is worried that he has worsened her relationship with her family, and that he has so many flaws and maybe she deserves better. And that makes Shiori sad, which causes Ichiro anemia. She is sad because she doesn't want her boyfriend to think less of himself when he has many good qualities, but she is also angry that the bond between him and her stinger doesn't let them have a fight like adults. After he gets better, she says that the best thing is to break the bond they have so they can have a normal relationship, and he agrees. At that moment, Machi and Fumio appear and give them two matching couple keychains, which makes Shiori happy and makes her more willing to protect her relationship with Ichiro. That night, they return home and are surprised to see Shiori's family waiting for them. Shiori's family is surprised to see that Ichiro is a normal young man, as they expected to see a troublemaker, so they agree to meet tomorrow. That night, Ichiro and Shiori plan how to approach her parents to find out how to break their bond without them wanting to break their relationship as well. The next day, Ichiro and Shiori go to the hotel where her parents are staying, and although Shiori is polite, Miyako is rude and shows little desire to talk. She just wants to take her daughter to the island. Fortunately, Shiori's father calms them down and urges them to sit down and talk. But nothing goes as Shiori and Ichiro had planned, since her mother cannot believe that she told Ichiro that they are star people, and the worst thing is, she does not believe him that the bond between Ichiro and the Stinger was an accident, and she accuses her daughter of having given her body to a stranger off the island. This angers Shiori, who accuses her mother of never having faith in her, and she runs off, followed by Ichiro. He tells her that he understands her anger with her mother since he himself is estranged from his mother for abandoning them, although there are days when he wishes to have a cordial relationship with her at least. At that moment, Shiori's dad arrives and takes them back to the hotel to fix things, and her mother grumbles at her and apologizes for going too far with her rude comments. Then Miyako says that even if it was an accident, they should break their bond, and to the woman's surprise, Shiori and Ichiro agree, which makes Miyako cry since she believes that breaking the bond is the same as ending their relationship, and she thanks her daughter for obeying her. Although her happiness does not last long, because Shiori informs them that she does not plan to return to the island, and that angers Miyako, saying that her daughter has a false idea of freedom, since they are the ones who pay for her adventures through Tokyo, and these months have shown that she is not ready to live in the real world. And they point out that she does not even have a job. But Ichiro does not remain silent and takes out many manga panels drawn by Shiori. He tells them that these months have not been fruitless. She has been training hard to be a mangaka, not only with him, but with another artist. This surprises Shiori's father, and he decides to reduce her allowance and let her live off the island for another year. Before leaving, he tells them that they don't know how to break the bond, but as soon as they find out, they will tell them, although Shiori's father warns Ichiro that he is not on his side, but on Miyako's, since he will always support her. When they leave, Shiori and Ichiro breathe a sigh of relief. That were very tense hours, and Shiori thanks him for supporting her in everything. On the other hand, at home, Machi and Fumio are worried. They fear that Shiori's parents will take her away, so they make a paper shooting star and wish that she would stay with them forever. Suddenly, Shiori and Ichiro arrive tired and tell them that everything went well, while outside, a shooting star crosses the starry sky. Perhaps the children's wish will come true. Days later, Makoto and Higo arrive at Ichiro's house. They are in charge of performing the ceremony that will nullify the Sting bond. Mikado shows them a small tweezers that will remove the stinger. These are made with stones from Yobi Island, and Shiori whispers to her boyfriend that Mikado is on her side, while Kiko is still dizzy from the boat trip and asks for a place to rest. Alone, Mikado takes measurements for Ichiro to make formal clothes for the nullification ceremony, and tells him that she used to work with the princess's grandmother, and that is why she wishes the best for Shiori, and she fears that if they eliminate the bond, the couple's feelings will disappear, which shocks Ichiro. On the other hand, Kiko speaks alone with Shiori and tells her that everyone on the island misses her and waits for her, and not only that, he shows her that her mother gave him a necklace with which the two of them are able to speak telepathically even though they are far away. She reiterates that she does not want to return to the island, and Kiko says that she understands her, but he believes that with the nullification ceremony their feelings will disappear, and that scares Shiori. At night, they feel strange and the children notice it and think that Shiori will leave, but she assures them that won't happen, and she makes hot chocolate for the four of them. At night, Momoka calls Ichiro and asks how the things are going and notices that he is worried about something and assumes it is about his relationship with Shiori, and he admits that he is scared in case their feelings change, and she says that's a good thing, because it means he cares a lot about her. Then she tells him that tomorrow she can take care of the children while he and Shiori spend time alone, and that works wonders for him, because the nullification ceremony is tomorrow and Chihiro won't be home to take care of them. Meanwhile, Shiori can't stop thinking about Kiko's words and has nightmares about it. The next day, Shiori dresses for the ceremony and Kiko compliments her by telling her that when he grows up, he will be a candidate to her and hopes she will choose him as her husband. That only makes Shiori sadder since the boy only sees that she is a princess. Then he takes her to where Mikado and Ichiro are waiting for them. Ichiro sees that Shiori's gaze is lost, dark circles take over her face, and he regrets not having talked to her more about what they are about to do. The ceremony begins immediately with him drinking a special that will make his sting show, while Kiko turns on the camera to record the ceremony and show Shiori's parents that the nullification ceremony is complete. After a few minutes, the bond sting appears on Ichiro's forehead and Shiori must remove it from him, and when she does it, she can't help but cry, while he regrets not having told her that he loved her with all his heart before. Once the ceremony is over, Shiori tearfully tells Ichiro that he's a free man now and asks him if he still loves her, and he immediately hugs her saying that he loves her. Kaigo can't believe what he sees, but Mikado says that their job is done and they must return to the island, leaving the happy couple alone. Days later, Shiori and Ichiro agree to go out on a date, and she decides to buy new clothes since she only has black dresses. At the store, she runs into Chihiro, who helps her choose a new outfit, although she assures her that Ichiro will always compliment her because he is a kind person. Then, Shiori realizes that Chihiro has a crush on Ichiro, and the teenager confirms it, but she says that she is happy for them because she believes they are perfect for each other. Upon arriving home, Shiori tells Ichiro that she bought new clothes and she's looking forward to tomorrow's date, which makes him nervous, and he runs to Soma's house to ask him for advice on dressing appropriately for a date. The next day, the two do not stop complimenting each other, but Ichiro is so nervous that he does not let her hold his hand. So they go to an ice rink to learn how to skate, but they are both very bad at it and keep falling. Shiori tries harder because she wants to skate holding her boyfriend's hand, but he keeps falling. So he confesses that he also wants to hold her hand, but he is afraid to rush things, since before their bond made them rush many things, and this time he wants to go slow, but he can't help but want to walk holding her hand. And she confesses she wants the same thing. The next day, Machi listens to her brother doing the math on the money spent this month and hears him worried because he has to work twice as hard. Then she just came in to ask permission for her and Fumio to go play in the park with her friends. Later, the sky becomes cloudy and the children stop their games, and a girl asks Machi if they will go to the museum with them, but Machi says no, and although they tell her that she can bring Fumio, Machi prefers to return home. All this is seen by Shiori, who worries about the children. At home, Machi plays with Fumio, but when he wants to go look for Ichiro, she stops him because she knows that their brother has to work very hard this month to pay the bills. Afterwards, Shiori asks Machi why she turned down her friends, and she says she likes being at home with Fumio, but he tells her that she can go play with her friends and he will stay with Shiori. That breaks Machi's heart, and she starts crying uncontrollably. Ichiro hears his sister crying and runs down to see what's happening, and Shiori explains the situation. Machi assures that she wants to be at home with Fumio, and Ichiro tells her that he knows that she loves little Fumio, but he also knows that she is hiding something from him, and that makes Machi cry. She admits that sometimes she doesn't go to play with other children because she wants to lighten Ichiro's burden, and he thanks her for that but asks her not to stop being happy because of concerns that only concern him and now Shiori, and explains to Machi that they as adults are the ones who should take on more burdens, not them, who are children. Then Shiori apologizes to Fumio for crying and hugs him, and he tells them that she didn't go to the fireworks festival last summer even though her friends invited her. And that gives Shiori the idea of having a winter festival in the backyard, and everyone joins her idea, even Momoka and Sano, who bring water balloons and fireworks. Later, they put together a small celebration in the yard, paint noddles and set up a small pool with water in which the children can fish for water balloons. And not only that, the neighbors also join in since they are friends of Shiori and know that she is so special that she is capable of putting on a festival in a small backyard. While the children are playing the fireworks, Ichiro can't stop thinking about how special his girlfriend is, and she tells him that she wants to achieve many things on her list in the future. And then at the end, asks him to marry her. That shocks him and makes him blush, but he still takes her hand. All this is seen by others, who assume that they will get married in the future, so they congratulate them in advance.